Familiar with outreach credit programs, and I want to introduce to you Mara Motriuk-Smith, who has been teaching video conferencing courses for us for quite a while. I've worked with her for a long time. And video conferencing, I've also worked with video conferencing for a long time, and a lot of faculty see video conferencing very much as a duplicate of the classroom. They walk in and they think they can see their students and they can hear them, and so they just take their classroom course and they move it into a video conferencing setting. And it's not really. It's that's kind of a dangerous way to look at it, I think. But not Mara. She doesn't take things nearly that easily. So she's going to talk today about some tools that she uses to engage her students that she meets with every week synchronously through video conferencing. Jing and the tools in Canvas and an app called Nearpod, which if you have a mobile device and you want to download that, she can show you how that works directly. So, Mara?
Okay, thank you, Jack. Well, actually, I'll explain my journey. It was a very recent development. I struggled with video courses for a long time. Anyhow, so I proposed that it was very interesting website or download the app. You don't have to register this code in, and this will take you to my sessions. So on your devices, you will see what my students are seeing, and on this screen, you will see what I see as an instructor. Okay? It takes some time to figure it out, but do people hear me well?
Well, they will now.
Okay, I just turned this on actually, so that might help. Okay. Okay, so at the very beginning of the session, I see the number of students that are attending that signed in. That's the number on the very top. And then I give them half a point if they sign up for the last only. That way, when I get a report at the end, it's all in alphabetical. The students who don't have to scroll through the name to figure out whatever. Monster 5. So that's what I see, and then I give them usually a few minutes. If somebody is late, that code is always on the top, and also if you at any point you get kicked out for some reason, you can re-enter this code and you will just join back the session. Okay, so what I will focus today mostly is courses that I teach as a video conference. So oftentimes, because I'm located in Casper, I have a number of students in Casper, I would say up to 50%. But the rest of the students are either in Laramie or other locations around the state, because most of the community colleges in the state have a couple of rooms designated which are video conference. So I have students all over the state, typically. Okay, so this is what it looks like for me. Okay, I see a couple of screens, I see my slides. On the second TV screen, I see my students, and they're just those little heads that are doing something. They're typically muted, so I don't really know what they're doing. And I'll address this in a minute. Some people are nodding, they're familiar with the problem. Okay, this is what it looks like for students that are not in Casper. I'm on the board. They have a TV screen, but they kind of oftentimes treat me like a movie. You know, they pause me, they go out, they walk back in, they talk. Not always, but this has been a recurring problem that I have observed. And in several occasions, I even got a message from a student at that location saying, "I cannot hear you. I cannot attend because everybody's talking." Okay, so that's where I was at. Okay, so overall, oftentimes students say, "Oh, is this an online class? Why do we meet twice a week?" Okay, they really don't know what's a video class at all, even though the times are listed in the schedule. Oftentimes they come in late, they leave early, they say, oh, I have another class, on the other side of campus, I'm just going to leave 15 minutes early. So sometimes they talk loud, and so this is kind of my overall feeling. She's on TV. That class is very good. And oftentimes at the very end, I get emails from students like, I can't come to your office during your office hours. I don't know what you're like. I wish you could meet me. And I always say, well, but I'm here. But there's always this huge disconnect. Okay? So, I taught video conferencing courses for a number of years, and it was very overwhelming. So I had a couple of conferences, but I am not very technologically advanced, and all those things about cloud-based programs, ledger generation, practice presentations, apps, cell phones, flipped classrooms, recording videos were very foreign, unfamiliar, and I was totally not following them. So I was doing the traditional lecturing, many show the slides, talk to them. That goes on for 4 weeks, then we have a test, and then you repeat. So, then, about a year and a half ago, a few things happened. Okay? The good things that happened was that the committee decided to adopt Canvas instead of college methodology. Canvas came with a variety of tools that are really, really cool. Secondly, an amazing instructional designer that hired Casper Sana, who is just really on the top of things and on conversations about technology on a weekly basis. And the third thing that happened is UW Casper moved to a new building. The building was not quite finished, it was just in the classroom, but they couldn't come. So for that, was this like flat. So we had to come up with a solution, and it was like pretty urgent to do this. How to change the way I teach. So I want to talk about a couple of things, and some of them might be relevant to our online coaching. So at the very beginning, try to make as common as possible. I record a couple of videos that decided kind of like anywhere what you expect about the content. There's another video about video content, structure of the course. There's another video about who I am and Poland and family and graduate. Just kind of make them feel that I'm a person. And then I also upload the biography and ask them to upload their biography. They try to respond to every student. So they know that they don't have a connection, if possible. And oftentimes during the first meeting, I ask them about their background or their interests, successful in this class, why, and then it's kind of like, oh, you take microbiology, who's teaching microbiology? Oh, Rachel is teaching. Oh, we went to school together. Or I'm speaking. Oh, you're speaking. And so just kind of trying to do this. I struggle with this because I feel that during this first meeting, we take a lot of time away from actual content. But I really think that I'm starting to make a connection with the students. So I'm very excited about this. Okay. So this is my personal solution regarding the problem. So Nearpod, if something happens with my video conferencing and the students cannot see the slides, they see the slide on their slide. Okay. So as long as I have audio, I can keep going with the lecture. So this was like the first time I told the students, bring your phones to class. And I thought there's gonna be problems, but so far, I think I had one student, this is the third semester I'm doing this, that said that they don't have a device and there are ways that we can check out the computer. Okay, so they have to sign in at the beginning, and I give them 3 points for class period for showing me they're in the classroom. So there are short quizzes or open-ended questions. So if they participate and they get the answers right, they get 3 points. So that's kind of an incentive to be there on time, participate and listen, because if they don't listen, they can't answer the question. Sometimes I ask questions regarding previous lecture. If you have a discussion type of question, you can take a poll and say, who agrees with this, and show them the results of the poll and have a discussion. You can also embed videos or websites in this, and I'll demonstrate this in a minute. So, I embedded the website now, and I think if you guys want, you can watch the video or just scroll down the website. And okay. But basically, this flowchart that's a little bit cut off here summarizes how a Nearpod works. So basically, if you have a PowerPoint presentation, all you have to do is save it as a PDF. And then you just drag it into Nearpod, and it will put each slide separately. And then you can embed separately any kind of a question. That's the one of the disadvantages, that if you have a question banks, you can't just import them to Nearpod. You just have to type everything by hand, but then it stays there if you want to reuse it again next year. And then you create a session. It can be either a live session, like we're doing this right now, but I had a request for a session afterwards, so you can create it as a homework. Okay? I think there's a basic version. You can sign in and you can see how it works for free. And then I think there's just limited capacity of how much stuff you can keep in there. But I think it's something like about $100 per year to purchase like a full license. That's sure hours full. Anyway, and then at the end, you can generate a report. So it tells you who participated, who was there, who answered the question. If there are multiple choice questions, it's going to tell you who got how many questions right. If they're open-ended questions, you just kind of get a list of their responses. Okay, so this is an example of a first question. Would you be interested to learn more about creating interactive presentations? So those that are participating, you can just submit answer.
For our online group, we're saying that if you wander, your online people are saying if you wander close to that microphone, they can do that. So just as an FYI.
Okay, so you guys are answering the question, and this is what I see on my screen. Okay, what I do is when I teach, I can push one button and it takes the presentation off the screen so the students cannot see it, but I get an instant feedback. Do they get the concept of DNA replication and directionality of DNA? If most of them do, then I move on. Most of them don't, you can slow down and repeat. Okay. Okay. So that. Oh, by the way, so during the YDEC, which is upcoming like mid-May in Douglas, we'll have a workshop about this. Oksana is leading this, but if anybody is interested, we'll be covering more depth to our workshop. Okay, so then the videos. Okay, I was told this is a generation of people that want to instantly access the video, internet videos. So I found all those amazing animations through a publisher's website that explain a lot of concepts. If you put them in Canvas, you get like a student report so you can see when they watch it 10 minutes before the test, right? So I was really frustrated. And then I started making short tutorials using Jing, which I'll explain in just a minute. Will they watch it? So what I'm finding is that they will watch it, but only if you assign points, okay? So what I started doing is, here's the animation, watch it, answer 3 questions. And it's whatever, 3 points, 2 points on the homework. And then they'll do it. They'll do it as you go. Sometimes if they have a problem with the concept, I'll make it for myself. And oh yes, that was also something that I realized last year, that when they were submitting homeworks, I was making those detailed comments. It took them like an hour per student. And at the end of the semester, they were like, "You made comments? Well, I wonder about that because I could never understand why I got a C." So they look at the grade, sometimes they look at the rubric. They don't really go back. They didn't even know that you can read the comments there. And I think since then, Canvas changed how they access this. But actually, that was my husband, educator. He came up with this idea that open the document of the homework, and instead of typing, you just mark a couple of things and you talk over this, and you save it as a video. Right? So now I return, instead of documents, I return the links to the video in which I say, you did well here, but here are the problems. So sometimes they watch it, sometimes they don't, but I think maybe that's a better feedback. So what I'm using is Jing. As I understand it, Jing is kind of like a very primitive version of Camtasia. It's also free. So this is the website, text company. And it's really, really user-friendly. You download it, and then you can capture part of your computer. And then you can either copy anything from your screen as a photo, or you can put your voice over it. Okay? You can open the document with the homework and talk over this. It's only up to 5 minutes. It's a short video. Or you can, several applications, I'll show you one. If students couldn't understand the concept, I'll draw a figure and say, all right, let's go over this again. I don't have stuff, but I'm using the video. So here's the website, and again, I think it's interactive, so if anybody wants, you can, and I can certainly make this. Okay. So this is the screencasting tool that which I really like. So this is an example of the video. I cannot play it, but if you guys have a device, you can play it. And it's basically a figure that I drew, and then I talked over it for 5 minutes, like how enzyme work, hydrolyze, terminal, and this was a homework question. With Jing, what you do is don't watch it, but you comment. So when you make this video, at the very end, share, and then you can copy the link. You send it to the students, and all they see is this video. They don't find folder or other student homeworks or anything else. That's all they can ask. And again, they don't have to set up an account. This is kind of my policy. They have to be able just to click and watch it. No intermediate steps. So, okay. And so this is a Nearpod, right? So I can do this in the classroom too. I can show them the slide, and if I want them to watch the video now, because say my OBN is broken or it's not working in 5 minutes, I can assign this while we're trying. Okay, so here's another question. Can anyone recommend a good digital pen that can draw detailed figures or diagrams? This is an open-ended question, and I'm seriously interested in that. So if you have suggestions, I'll take them. This is just to draw figures. And then as people type an answer, then I can see what the student answers were. And I can see it real time, and then I can also see it in a report later. Anyway, you don't have to type, we can talk afterwards. I wish I did, right? So if I see majority of the answers, I say like, okay, 10 more seconds, and we're moving on to the next slide. All right, so is this all working? To some degree, I think so. I think it feels to me like I finally broke the iceberg. It seems to me that the students are more likely to email me and ask questions. Couple times in the exam did not go well. At the very end, I had a question. Why do you think the exam did not go well? And they just kind of vent on you right there and there. Both the grade and then because the question, you know. And so, and then I bring this list to class next time and say, all right, well, many of you think this, and we should try to discuss it as we go. And I think they vent and they feel like I know what's going on and they're heard and create a better interaction. I think overall they're on time. They try to come in, they look for the code. One time they're like, Professor, you forgot to put the code on, you know, or where's the question, you know, so they're really excited about this. So we communicate better, I think, overall. I even said the one talk that somebody said that you can create this kind of relationship in distance courses, whether it's online or open, then they're less likely to cheat because they see you as a person that is interacting with them, and you're not some kind of a name, you know, on a. And with those animations, yeah, they will watch it, but you have to make them take a quiz and assign a couple of points. You assign a couple of points, they'll do it, but otherwise, it varies. And I want to acknowledge the people that introduced me to these tools. So Scott Seville, my colleague, he was coming back from conferences, he's administrating, like, you know, this Jing thing, if I was in the classroom, I would use it for all those things. So I finally looked it up. And Oksana introduced me to Nearpod, and then Maria and Barry, they showed me the ways how to use those tools in a classroom. So I understand we can kind of have a discussion or questions or. Thank you.
So please ask questions, but please speak loudly so that our listeners will join in the conversation.
I'll just start with a comment, or just a reiteration of what Morris said, but it's really cool the way that you increase your use of personalization, right? The idea that, you know, really getting to know the student. It's very much at the heart, and if technology can help you hear more. But one of the things you said is so important is to reiterate is that if you give students the permission to prioritize, they will do those activities. And I always think of that as, even if you say, I'll give you 1 point of extra credit, students will do 100 points worth of work for 1 point of extra credit. And so it's just a little permission to prioritize that extra. That's really cool.
It's working, yeah. And I think overall, they finally, I think 70% of the students know what I want them to put. That's my goal. material is complex. I can help. So at the end, okay, I can share it as a homework. So if you have somebody, I was competing in the swim team and I missed it, but I still want to do it, it's up to you to decide. Absolutely. You can share it as a homework, or it's just what I'm going to do right now. Okay, and then I can email this, which I'm not going to do. But this is the code. So if anybody wants to access this after today, this is the code right here, SJ. And then you can see this whole thing. And I even have tried to use this as a homework too, because you can make it like right by base, log in there, this code, and they can you can log in multiple times. They can look at the videos, look at the questions, you know, log out and then log in again. But it's like fun. Anybody here is teaching?
So is anybody here? Oh, we're a question. Oh, actually, I always think like it's
Is Nearpod a private company? I must be problem.
What does it mean? Data. What do you mean? Well, I think, of course, but I think about Google. There are more restrictions to do it. Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay, so as an instructor, I have to create an account. Okay, and when you create a session, you have to tell them what level of education. A lot of people lower, like K to 12, and then you have to tell them is it like science or humanities or something like that, and then they definitely advertise to me.
So that's what for it.
Right.
Yes.
You get emails and things pop out occasionally, but it's not totally annoying. For the students, however, they don't create the account. So it's anonymous in that way, but they know the institution, right? And so however they sign in, that document also stays for a period of time. But beyond that, I really don't know.
I think that part of the restrictions on Google in other countries has to do partly with data mining, right? Data mining, right? Yeah. Yeah, they're collecting your data. They're collecting the data. Yeah. These guys are not, and Google is really in that business. That is how they do what they do. These guys are not. These guys are made specifically to help with education. Their model is different than Google. They're not. Google makes money on data mining. These guys don't. These guys make money because when Mara is really excited about it, and then Mara comes to tell you all about it, and you're really excited about it, then you all buy it, right? That's how you can get it. So I have a couple of questions if nobody has any from Mary Keller, actually. Is that she said you have a blended class, and she wants to know, like you're doing video conferencing. So she wants to know, are some students in Casper and others aren't? Is that how it works?
Right. So the way it works is I am in Casper, and I see my Casper students like this, and I always have a totally different relationship with the students that I see face-to-face because they can come in after class or before class or stop by my office. And then at least 50% lately, it's been more like 60 to 70% of the students are Laramie, Torrington, Cheyenne, Powell, at other locations. So I think the most I had students maybe up to 5 or 6 locations at the same time.
And then she said, all the students use Nearpod?
Yes.
Or only the ones that?
Yes. I make them all use the Nearpod, so just to make it all flat across.
So, do you see any applications for Nearpod if you're either all in the same, in a real-time classroom or in basic
asynchronous environment?
I'm still like exploring this, but I think I don't think it's very likely that I will ever teach a class just all face to face, because where my funding is coming from, position and structure. But I think if I were to do this in this kind of environment, I would still use Nearpod. The interaction you can have right away. Like, it really tells you a lot about the student, right? Like, this student never gets this question, then they turn in a perfect homework. Well, there's a red flag right there. And so then you're like, you Google their answers, and then like, oh, here's the website. You don't write like this. You don't understand this concept that way. So it kind of helps me to just kind of assess where they're at as I go. I also have used it when I travel to conferences. I made the whole thing as a homework. So I said, here are the slides, here are the websites, here's the book pages, and then here are the questions. I'm gone for a week, you're doing this on your own. And if they're already familiar with Nearpod, they don't question, they're like, oh, okay, just tell me. So that's
Has anybody in here used a clicker or pull everywhere for your class? Yeah, so this is very similar to that, right? I mean, it may just give you a few more options for the clickers, but if you want to talk about that.
Well, I just like to say the reason that that I started using Nearpod, because I think it fills a gap and it's a really easily accessible tool that designs expressly for mobile devices. Because we have the LMS, and even though you can access some content, because the content on there isn't actually designed for mobile per se. And Nearpod, I think, is probably the easiest solution out there that lets you really do instructional design expressly for mobile.
right.
And that's what it's really exciting.
Right, and so, right now the OBN is working. All the students at the distance side still see the slides on the screen, and I also post them, right? So they really need, if they don't want to bring the laptop, they just bring the phone to answer those 5 or 10 questions for class. But yes, I agree, it works on the devices, and if you embed the video, you have to see, like, if it works on the devices. The flash players. I'm learning. But yeah, the mobile devices, everybody uses them. Yes.
How many students do you have are in Casper but participate not?
So the course that I'm teaching right now, I have 3 students in Casper and left, I think, 14 in Laramie.
And there's no Casper students that don't actually come to your actual classroom? Are there some of them that just choose to do the course?
No. So everybody has to come to the classroom.
If they're in Casper?
No, everywhere.
Oh, there's a physical classroom. Got it.
Yes. So University of Wyoming has classrooms on this campus and across the state when they have cameras and video. So we always meet, Tuesday and Thursday, 1 to 2:15. So I have this interaction that, they see me and they hear me. So this is not asynchronous class. They always have to be there physically. So, this is part of the deal. You're in the classroom, right? So you answer it. But if you're away for the conference, you can make it. So they just do it on their own. But I have been thinking, and I don't know how it evolves, there's some changes in programs that if it ever comes down to teaching maybe certain courses online, I would definitely consider this option as an assessment quizzing tool. So, I was like sitting in the library, just out the phone, I'm like, hey, let's.
Reading that other children, how is it different from the function where math
Right, yes, I can do this. So, so this is not communicating with Canvas, right? So you have to basically do this by hand, but you get a report. So let me see if I can pull up. So did everybody get that code? SJVFA. That's later. So end the session. Wow. So then I need a. So here's your home page. Right here you have the report. Look at the today's report. But basically, you see they're broken. There's like a global assessment that tells you out of some students, a percentage that participated, a percentage that certain questions, right? Then each question is broken down by the student. So you see that question 1, question A got it right. So, but I think then you can create a PDF report and you could just pull out individual student file. So for that student, there's kind of like a summary that will tell you that obviously you have to think about how you structure the questions. Open-ended questions, you have to think about yourself. But if all you have is multiple choice questions, the system asks you which one is the right answer. So the system will grade it. I will tell you that student A got 80% right. Okay, and it's passing. Then you have to go back. Well, so that's Nearpod, right? So that's just kind of showing the slides. Jing is just kind of screencast. So you just make a video. And for that, what you can do is you make a video and then ask a couple of questions regarding it. And then you have to kind of play with it to see the most efficient way to go so it doesn't take a lot of time. I tell the students open book, so I don't care if you have the book, but you have like 90 seconds to answer the question. What's going on? Probably to answer.
So we were just talking over here that because we had a question from Mary, she's like, this seems like much better face-to-face synchronous type of environments. But I was just thinking that if you used it to present a video and then have the quiz, both of them within Nearpod right there, that would be a really good use, even in a non-face class. Like you could say, here's the video and here's my questions, and then you ask them.
Right. So it kind of really depends. I don't know. I'm sure there are other tools out there. The disadvantage, like she pointed out, then you have to assess, and then you have to put it back to Canvas.
Yeah.
So if you're teaching online, you might be better off put the video on Canvas and make the quiz right there, and then grade itself. Right?
Yeah.
But
so are you using Canvas in addition to
yes.
Nearpod?
Yes.
And how do you find that the two complement?
Complement each other.
So how are you using Canvas? Are you just using?
Oh, everything is in Canvas. The gradebook is in Canvas. Slides are in Canvas. Announcements, homework assignments. All of my animations, the links are in Canvas.
And does that end up then meaning for you to duplicate work and you have to create?
Yes,
one in your
yes.
you have to create
it does. It does. So the Nearpod is kind of clunky because you can't like pull out the questions of Word document. You just have to type everything by hand. So you don't want to use Nearpod for 100 questions. 3 to 5, that's good. That's about 30 to 40 work. And then you have to look at the report and then put the grade back in. So it is a little bit, but the Canvas won't like. Well, they're cold, right?
Yeah, but they don't. It's not there yet.
Okay.
I mean, it's not to.
I haven't tried. This works, so I'm not changing.
Well, then you love them when you get there, but at the moment, it's not there. Okay. But Canvas won't do also. Won't let you go right down the road, which is an asset given.
Right.
I can try, although I was sort of in and out of the presentation. But I think one of the big things is just that, Ruth, that Canvas doesn't allow you to control what your students experience at a given moment, right? So you can put all kinds of stuff in wild courses, but you can't, you don't have any control over when students are accessing that stuff beyond being able to open assignments or quizzes and various kinds of content at certain times and close it at certain times. So, but what Mara's able to do with Nearpod is she's able to, you know, to advance through a sequence of a lesson, and students who are participating are advancing along with her.
And I think, at least for me, what was really big is this feedback, right? Because if you assign a quiz in Canvas and you give them a week, I don't know, I see the submission time, right? So if all the submissions are close together, like within a minute or two, they work together. And you can't control this because they're in Laramie and they go to the library and they do this together, right? So what does this grade reflect? I don't know. But if I have them all sitting, even if it's, you know, in the video format, and I say, this is the quiz, they just try to kind of figure this out on their own. So that really tells you. And with online courses, I think, you can specify when you have the course that there will be a session, you know, Saturday from 7 till 9 p.m. and, I don't know, Monday from noon till 2, and you expect the students to attend one of those sessions, you could do the same thing. It's just kind of lecture, connect with them, or open the homework and have them do this within this time frame.
You could even conceivably do something like that with wild courses, right? Canvas has good mobile apps. You know, so you could conceivably do in the classroom, free question,
right. Then
survey,
open it right
quiz, right now. Yeah. But it's not built to do that in the same way that Nearpod is intentionally built to do.
For those students that you pull everywhere, or clickers,
Is that in classroom? Is that how the classroom goes?
anybody know about clickers? Yes.
Because that's kind of alternative, right? The clickers. And I cannot do the clickers. That was I asked people for 2 years, and because I have students at different locations, I couldn't do the clickers.
Well, anyway, we'll say pull everywhere then. Do you think that this is a viable alternative? Is it something that you might consider? At this point, we don't have a site license for Nearpod, but that isn't. We couldn't. So, is there anything about that particularly exciting that?
What do you see as the specific advantages of this?
All everywhere I see is just having that quizzing piece, like a piece where I can just ask a question, whereas this has a piece where I can work them through it, and so that they could. So if I was, did this pulled off the top of my head right now, so bear with me here. But if I'm having a big class with 300 people, and they can probably be on their phone or on their iPad or on their computer following exactly what's happening on the screen way up in front. You also, am I right about this? They were putting in a note feature. Do they have that yet? A note feature for students? Do they have that yet? Or you could actually take notes on the Nearpod. On the phone. I don't know if they were, the last time I looked, they were in the process of doing that. So I could have a student that's following exactly what's going on, taking my notes, taking notes on, iPad or on a computer, whatever, and on the presentation as opposed to just asking them the question. So. Not me.
Yeah. I have a campus with license from Poland. That's generally recognized first, then by different faculty members have been where they want students to have.
So the polls everywhere, is that on the phone too?
Any device.
So so partially I'm using this because I have to follow the syllabus of the faculty where they're teaching exactly the same thing everywhere with students. So and the clickers that students have to buy the software.
iClicker, there's iClicker Go now, which is a way for them to compete solutions like which are purely software-based, not hardware-based solution. So just different.
I always wanted to use clickers. I thought that was like the coolest thing, and I couldn't. So I have my alternative. Yeah.
Yeah, you can use that a lot.
Because all the faculty members are teaching face to face. I'm like, he's using a clicker. I want to use clickers.
So we've done a little bit of research into clicker versus Pull Everywhere at that point, what it was. And the students really, really, really like Pull Everywhere better because they can use their own device. It doesn't cost them anything. One of the big things was that this was before they had the to-go option, where they actually had to bring a clicker and they would forget them, and then the batteries were always running out, and it was really frustrating to see this. And when we did Pull Everywhere, they just had their device answer. One of the and even now, if they use the clicker option with the software, they still have to pay for that. They do not have to pay for Pull Everywhere. Pull Everywhere is free. The university has that license, so that's helpful. One other thing about Pull Everywhere that is unique to all of these solutions, I believe, is that you can actually participate from a dumb phone by texting. And that is different than every other solution. Like you can actually participate in a poll by texting, straight up texting without any web enabled anything. So
the other sort of advantage to the student, but issue with the clickers, the physical clicker, but very large 8 o'clock class, your friends could have 12. You're laughing, but that's, literally, you could see them, like, pick them up off the floor and, like, just quick all of them. And then they were in a bag or pull them out of their coat pocket. So, that.
Because they don't have to log in, right?
You're not going to give your friends your phone, or they would have to log in and out of accounts. It's from a really knowing, participating, you're not going to get this one relationship. If somebody is there with somebody else's phone, you can't write back, but the chances of that happening are much less. You can only imagine it was in the dorms and they would all throw their clickers out like on a table and someone would go pick them all up. It's academically dishonest. You can catch it and you can deal with it, and it's like they would take turns.
Well, and so presumably Nearpod provides that same kind of assurance, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I don't know, right? I don't count the students. They may have 2 devices.
Yeah, but
yeah.
Giving somebody your device is entirely different than
Yeah. Right. Because that's your personal.
Yes. Because what you're really trying to do is get people to participate and get a somewhat of a feeling of who's there, what they're answering. They're powerful information way they give you, students are just, there's a game to show that they're there with the learn. It's not a powerful instructional.
Yeah, I do think that at least on one occasion somebody texted code, right? I can't control this.
Right.
So I think there was somebody that
was somewhere else.
You know, somewhere else looking at the slides and participating while the person was there. Can't control that. Yes.
Why do the students learn me have to go to a classroom? Why can't they do it from their own computer and look at the on their own?
Because they see me and voice TV.
And they can't get that on their own computer screen somehow instead of, you know.
It's not an online class. It's based and that's a lot of confusion. Like, well, can I just go to the library? No, it's a class. It's a video conference. And so everybody has a microphones and we can talk as well at a discussion basis.
So someone in Goshen County isn't sitting in their living room, but
they have
at
to
the library
come
or
to
the
assigned
in
room.
a
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So essentially, there's classrooms all over, all over the state that we have that are connected to the so that it's kind of like being in class. So everybody is required to be at a class. There are ways. I mean, you can. What's happening right now, right? I have 3 people on the conference, so that can be done as well, but it's class.
So I have done it. I had a student that was employed, and I was asked. At that point, I did not use Nearpod. So what I would do was just phone in, and then I downloaded slides, uploaded shell, and so but it is a video conference class. Everybody has to be in the classroom. There are a lot of those classes. We counted like 17 or 18. So if you're willing to drive,
There's like 40 or 50.
oh really?
Yeah.
But it's like 17 locations.
Yeah.
So if they're willing to drive 50 miles, they can class.
I haven't actually taught people yet, but I have observed and asked on the that I thought, but I noticed that being a challenge for is that when students, to get students to participate, and when they do participate, it's cumbersome, and so it doesn't have that natural sort of flow that you have when you're all together in the same classroom. And so the Nearpod, really meaning a lot of those issues.
I see this all the time. We have a lot of video conference seminars. I talk about